Russell Hantz lost Heroes vs. Villains because he refused to learn from his past mistakes in Samoa. Did Rizgod suffer a similar fate? Welcome to Joe Island. Russell Hantz is one of the most notorious villains in Survivor history. After dominating Samoa, he returned for Heroes vs. Villains, where he had a choice of adaptation or stagnation. Instead of adapting his strategy, Russell doubled down on the exact same game that got him to the end of Samoa, and because of that, it produced the exact same result. Rizzo entered Survivor 50 with the exact same dilemma. He could evolve the game he played in 49, or play the exact same game all over again. So, now that 50 is over, one question remains. Did history repeat itself? Let's get into it. Rizzo, aka Rizgod, Rizgod baby, competed on Survivor 50 a mere 10 days after 49. Just like Russell Hantz, he was thrust right back into the game as if he had never left. Now, how similar was his game to Russell Hantz the second time around? To start, let's talk about the pre-merge. Both of these players started on the bottom of their tribe. For Russell Hantz, it was the infamous Villains tribe. He quickly alienated himself early on through his alliance with Parvati, his persistent idol hunting, and his rivalry with Boston Rob. This all came to a head in episode 6, where Russell Hantz beat Boston Rob at his own game by successfully playing an idol on Parvati and voting out Tyson. This flipped the power structure within the tribe and firmly placed Russell in the majority moving forward. To put the cherry on top, Russell was given an idol from JT, a member of the opposing tribe. Why JT did that is a discussion for a whole other video, quite frankly. But it is safe to say the King of Samoa had a very solid early game. Now Rizzo's journey was not identical, but history often rhymes. Rizgod, just like Russell, found himself at the bottom of the tribe. He annoyed the likes of Colby and Q with his lackluster work ethic around camp. It was initially left out of the majority alliance. However, he was able to integrate himself into the tribe after the departure of Kyle, and soon found himself in the majority. After the tribe swap, Rizzo pulled off a blindside alongside Suri, Dee, and Camilla on Charlie Davis. And just like Russell, Rizzo was gifted an idol from Genevieve, a member of one of the opposing tribes. Unlike JT, Genevieve had to give someone the idol because it was the Billie Eilish Boomerang idol, of course. Overall, a pretty similar journey among these two players. They are both playing a similar game to their respective first appearances, which of course begs the question, did history repeat itself? For that answer, let's take a look at the post-merge. Both of these contestants entered this phase of the game vying for power. For Russell Hantz, he was tied 5-5 heading into the merge against the Heroes tribe. Even with Russell's deception and manipulation of the Heroes, he could not overcome the sheer number discrepancy. Luckily for him, his number one ally Parvati played 2 idols during the first tribal council to protect their alliance. This solidified the majority and placed Russell in a power position. Despite Sandra's attempt at flipping from the villains, he was able to manipulate the Heroes at key votes to do his bidding, all the while making the same mistakes he made the first time, only amplified. He openly insulted his tribemates, he blew up at a few tribal councils, he manipulated people, and his arrogance met no bounds. At the final 7, he even betrayed his close ally Danielle out of the blue. Despite all of it, he avoided elimination through a series of blindsides, gathering numbers, playing the hidden immunity idol, and winning an individual immunity challenge. At the final 4, he clutched the final immunity challenge, guaranteeing himself a spot in the final 3. He then decided to take out his close ally Jerry before advancing to the final tribal council. From there, he became a 0-vote finalist and second runner-up of the season. Just like Samoa, he fundamentally misunderstood the game and what it took to win. His arrogance and lack of jury management sealed his fate in a game built on social politics. He was unable to rewrite history. So, did Rizzo suffer a similar fate? Starting out in the merge, Rizzo found himself in a tight 3-person alliance alongside Ozzy and his number one ally Suri. They went along with the majority to oust D, the last winner standing. Their position was precarious, however, as the Honor Integrity Alliance held a significant amount of power in both their numbers and undying loyalty to each other. Luckily for Rizzo, his number one ally Suri led the charge to vote out 2 of their members thanks to a twist in the game. This twist had contestants in pairs where they could be voted out as a unit. Suri took advantage of this and led the troops to take out both Coach and Chrissy. This solidified power for Rizzo and put him in a comfortable position moving forward. At the final 8, Ozzy spilled his entire game to Aubrey, painting him as a prime target for the vote. Rizzo, taking a page out of Russell's book, blindsided his close ally to better his position. Just like his previous season, Rizzo wielded his public idol as a shield, threatening to play it at each tribal council in an effort to deter votes away from him. After playing his idol for himself at the final 5, he found himself in the same exact predicament from his previous season. He was forced to make fire against Jonathan to advance to the Final Tribal Council. Sadly, Rizgod lost. Just like 49, the aggressive, idle-heavy game that got him deep into the season could not overcome fire. Like Russell Hantz, he could not escape repeating his own failure. Why did history repeat itself? I think I have an answer to that burning question. Both of these players competed in back-to-back seasons. They had roughly 10 days of rest in between each season. Typically, Survivor players have years to look back on their experience and think about what they could have done differently. They have a chance to watch their season at home and get a brand new perspective on the game that they played. This is of course in direct contrast to Rizzo and Russell, who hopped right back into the game with zero preparation. With that in mind, it is easy to see why they would fall back into their own patterns. With no time to rethink their game plan, they have to rely on what worked well the first time. They didn't have time to watch exit interviews, hear fan criticisms, or reflect on how others perceived them. Instead, they were forced to rely on what they already knew. For Russell Hantz, it is even more blatant on why he played the same exact game. He didn't know he had lost Samoa going into Heroes vs. Villains. Unlike seasons in the new era, the final vote had not been revealed. So in Russell's mind, he could have very well thought he won the game and thought to himself, why bother reinvent the wheel? And with that, I can't understand his perspective and way of thinking. Rizzo, however, is a bit more complex. He knew that he lost in fire in 49, but he refused to correct his past mistake heading into 50. He has even stated in exit interviews that he did not practice fire during the 10-day separation between seasons. In his defense, there was a chance that Survivor 50 did not have a fire-making challenge. The fans got the vote on whether or not the final four would have fire, duel, or simple vote off. Rizzo got the short end of the stick, obviously. Still, you should always prepare for the worst possible outcome. With all that being said, who played the better game for their respective subsequent seasons? I think Russell had a much more dominant game compared to Rizzo. He was the head of his alliance and had a hand in every vote out he was a part of in the post-merge. In fact, he voted correctly for every vote from that phase of the game. This control did come at a cost, and that cost was bigger than Boston Rob's ego. His arrogance and brash behavior alienated himself from his tribe mates. He got into arguments, shouted at people, and seemingly made it his mission to antagonize everyone for the love of the game. It was no wonder that he received 0 votes to win at the Final Tribal Council. Dominance and strategic prowess can only get you so far in Survivor. You need a social game, which is something that Rizzo understood better. He was able to connect with his tribe mates on a personal level, allowing him to make the connections he needed to advance through the game. Now, it is unclear whether or not Rizzo would have won Survivor 50 had he reached the end, but it's safe to say his chances were much higher compared to Russell Hantz. For that reason, I believe Rizzo played a more complete game in comparison. But there's plenty of improvement to be had from both players. They do have a lot to learn from each other. For Russell, he needs to take notes on the social game that Rizzo played this season. He was able to use his relationships that he had formed to his advantage. He kept a level head and did not get into any unnecessary conflicts. A great example of this was the Charlie vote. After hearing that Charlie was coming after him, he did not make a scene or get paranoid. He trusted his allies and trusted in the plan they made. The vote went off without a hitch, and Charlie was blindsided. His ability to look past the fog of war and down the stretch is what allows him to maneuver in the game. Hantz took the opposite approach, losing his cool for the most ridiculous reasons. Had he played it cool like Rizzo, he would have stood a better chance at the Final Tribal Council. Russell's inability to understand the social game is the reason he will never win Survivor. For Rizzo, it has to be his endgame execution, something I have discussed in my last breakdown of these two players. Russell Hantz has the innate ability to clutch a win when he needs it the most. We saw it in both Samoa and Heroes vs. Villains, where he won the Final Four Immunity Challenge to secure his spot in the Final Tribal Council. For all of his flaws, the King of Samoa can pull through when the pressure is on. Russell Hantz was able to deliver when his game was on the line, while Rizzo could not. He lost the fire-making duel in both of his seasons, becoming the first contestant to ever do so in the history of Survivor. That is certainly not a record sought after. Overall, both are strong competitors, but they lack the ability to win for fundamentally different reasons. The real irony here is that both players were rewarded for repeating the same game across both seasons. Both made a deep run and were respected for it by the fan base. The problem is that you don't play to go far. You play to win. $1 million is on the line, and a good game is not enough to cash the check. Survivor is complex and ever-changing with its twists, challenges, themes, and game mechanics. In Survivor, past success is often the biggest obstacle to future success. The game you played in the past can convince you don't need to change, but stagnation is a wall, adaptation is a ladder. You must climb that ladder to succeed. Otherwise, history is bound to repeat itself. Well, that's all for today. Who do you think played a better game in their second season? Drop a comment to let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button and subscribe for more Survivor content. I'll see you next time on Joe Island.